And we are live. It's Becky Chernick here with Evan and I on the edge. And boy, do I have a special event, Facebook Live tonight. And I have brought in one of the very best hairstylists that I know that obviously does a terrific job on my hair. And her name is Maria and RIggert. And she is that salon owner from RUUT Salon. And we're going to just talk about some of the things that she's actually had to deal with this COVID crisis, 19 crisis, and as she had to absolutely wrap her brain around this whole thing, open up her shop. And I believe that Brian Kemp Georgia was the first state to allow the salons to open up. And she's going to talk through some of that experience as far as how she went about doing that. And so we have a really interesting show this evening. So with that said, Maria, welcome. I'm glad you're here with us. And if you would just kind of share your background with everyone, like how you ended up in Georgia from New Orleans.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And really awesome to connect with you and kind of bring these two industries together because there's a lot of similarities. Yeah, so I moved to Georgia at 19 and started my career here. I was recruited by a pretty huge salon here in Atlanta, and I worked there for 10 years and then opened my own salon with my business partner who has been by my side since I moved here. Mm-hmm. We have a really great relationship and we navigate things. We do. We have had a lot of roadblocks in our time together, and we know how to do this now.
Well, you certainly do, and your shop is amazing. It's awesome. I really lucked out. You know, when I found you, I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of nice. I think I can do this. This is great. I was like traveling to Marietta, Buckhead, and all the other places, and I thought, God, there's got to be a place closer to home that I can actually go to, and there you were, and I was like, oh yay, this works for me. This is awesome. So, you know, you've been through quite a bit. You really, especially with this whole thing starting out. You mentioned when we were talking to you, I'm going to talk a little bit about that you actually had a customer that was diagnosed with the COVID virus. Is that like? What happened with that whole thing?
Having a hard time actually testing positive.
Okay.
So she has every symptom and is still not fully recovered. And
wow.
So she is one of the ones that as they look back on this, there's still more research to be done on why she can't test positive. And she's had multiple tests, and I've stayed in really close contact with her, and I was in physical contact with her right before she started to develop symptoms 2 times, and I serviced her. And, you know, so she and I have stayed in pretty close contact, and I care very, very much about how she's doing. And it's just another interesting variable to this and the testing in general. But yes, that's been one of the things that we really have tried to adapt is the safety within the salon experience. And it's been interesting.
Yeah, it really has been. So for an example, when you decided, because I was talking to your receptionist and you're in there, I was saying, oh, we're probably not going to close. And then I'm like, really? And we're going to do everything we can to stay open, and we're going to be open for our clients and that sort of stuff. And the next thing you know, it was maybe a week later, and all of a sudden it's like, we're closing. We're done.
COVID, things change day to day.
Like a week later, it's like, we're done. We're closing this deal up.
On to the next plan, yes. So when we had reached out to you prior to closure, we were really trying to wait because we saw Ohio closing salons, we saw Illinois closing salons, we saw Minnesota, and so we're like, okay, so, you know, every governor is going to do this. And so we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and it wasn't happening. And so then we started to think, you know, is our team waiting on us? Or our guests waiting on us? It started to kind of feel like people were coming in for their service and no one was really comfortable. You know,
just like, are you sure you're not sick? Don't cough on me.
time for us to make a move instead of waiting on someone else to make a move. And so we decided to go ahead and voluntarily close. And that was very difficult because if there was going to be a mandated closure and we closed too soon, that's extra revenue we're not getting.
Yeah.
You know? And so it was a really tough decision. But in the end, we decided to voluntarily close. And I think we were 3 or 4 days later, there was the mandated closure for Salon. So we were on target.
Yeah, so I got that email and it says, well, never mind. I know your appointment's at the end of the month, but we have to rethink this one out. So, and I understood that obviously. But then we got an announcement. Brian Kemp comes out. He goes, okay, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. My wife is giving me a hard time. Just kidding. We're opening up the salons, the nail salons and the hair salons. I can't take it anymore. And so with that, you're like, what are you talking about? So for everyone, if you would just tell us about how many emails you got, how many phone calls you got, like, hey, I'm coming.
Yeah, so, well, and I don't know how many of our viewers tonight actually live in Georgia, but when that announcement was made that salons and barbershops and gyms specifically were opening, we were all still under shelter in place, and the openings were going to happen before shelter in place was done. So Nicole, my business partner, and I, we were still in the midst of actually adapting the business for closure. We weren't even done. And this announcement was made, and we got flooded with over 50 contacts, whether they were phone calls, messages, emails, immediately, and people really expecting that we were going to be able to open by the date he was saying. So he announced it on Monday that all of these places could open by that Friday, and there still wasn't PPE available. There still wasn't basic toilet paper, like very basic things that if we can't get for our homes, we have to get a pretty large volume of those things for the salon, for a business.
Right.
But yes, we got an initial flood of contact, kind of expecting that a light switch could go on.
And then and everything's going okay. This is cool. This is great. I'm going to go get my hair done. So then all of a sudden you're thinking through this and go, okay, well, are we really going to open up the shop, and how are we going to do this? How are we going to embrace this whole thing? Because again, you have responsibilities. There's regulations that you have to follow, protocol that's necessary, or otherwise you're fined, right? Or you could possibly maybe lose a license because you didn't do due diligence and that sort of stuff. So that was, something that you had to think through, plan in advance. And what I thought was, I'm going to tell you right now, that email that you sent out and I received, I was like, wow, this is, it just hit home. It was very caring and genuine, authentic, that, as much as you want to service me, let's do this the right way. Yeah. It just hit home to me. And I'm like, man, this is such a great email. I got to send it to my friend. I sent it to Ted Ings. I said, Ted, you have got to see this. This is freaking amazing email. It just hit home. And Ted has been struggling in New Jersey, and he's locked down. He is not going anywhere for any time. He's with his mom, and his mom's older, and he's really careful-minded. But he's like, wow, this is special. This is really special. And it really was special because I know and I felt that you really cared. And it was like, let's have this conversation. Let's talk about this. This isn't something I want you. I don't want you showing up at my door without understanding how we're going to do something. I want you to understand these are the steps to my sale. This is the steps to come into my salon.
Yes, right. Yes.
And I'm like,
all the doors.
So it was like, okay, so you had to have. And I want you to talk about this because the reason I want to talk a little bit about this, and I want to answer some of these comments that are coming in, but we're having some issues in the car business, and we talked about how the car business and the salon business is almost the same in that you guys have been doing business a certain way for a long time.
Yes.
And it's tough to teach an old dog a new trick.
Right.
And there's a certain protocol you guys do, and there's a certain protocol us card people do.
Right.
And it's tough because we want that emotional contact with the customer. You know, to us, it's always been, you know, when that customer goes through that emotional buying experience, they tend to obviously enjoy that experience that much more. And then obviously, because of that, it tends to be more profitable. But that engagement really is happening when the customer comes into the dealership and not necessarily when it's online.
Right.
And so you manage to be able to figure out that engagement, that consultative engagement, if you will, online before your client came in. And that was tough.
Yes. Well, and so that wasn't the plan. And I think that that's what's been probably the most empowering through this experience is we'll develop a plan. And then as we're about to roll that plan out, we realize, wait, hold on, we need to adapt it and we need to go a different route. And the willingness to do that, that's first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And so for us, we were going to go the basic way. We were going to have, you know, our receptionist department. We call them our salon experience specialists, but they are our supportive department that schedules these appointments, and they are the liaison in communicating these things over the phone or via email. Mm-hmm. So initially the plan was for them to take that role from home remotely and contact these clients for our soft opening to get the schedules on the book. I mean, to get the appointments on the schedule. And at the very last moment, my business partner and I, who are service providers, were more available, and we took the reins and we did it ourselves. And it felt really good. It felt good for us and it felt good for them. And we ended up calling hundreds of guests and speaking to them directly. And what it allowed was kind of to bridge the gap. Yeah. Everyone was sitting at home and everyone was waiting to see what this would look like. And there's nerves involved in that. Yeah. And to have that human interaction, that personal conversation with each person and to hear how you're doing, how you're feeling, this is what we're going to do for you to create a comfortable experience for you that's also safe for, you know, anyone else in here at the time. And that's going to continue to be safe after you leave.
Yeah, that's right.
And so developing that sense of calm and that contact before they came in was absolutely, I think, groundbreaking for how the experience went once people came in.
Yeah, and it set up the stage. It set the stage. And everything, you lived by everything that we discussed. And it became, this is how we do it. It wasn't anything different than what you explained it would be. And that was what it was. And that's what's so important for dealers really to understand, that when we are engaging with our customers online and, you know, we set the stage and we create that more consultative approach and we do what we say that we're going to do. So when the customer's coming into the dealership, it isn't any different than what we discussed online. Right? You set the stage, and that really creates, and like you mentioned, you know, we talk about this too, bridging the gap. Yeah, it definitely bridges the gap because now there's more credibility in the entire, like you say, experience. So let me just say hi to some of these guys that are on tonight. Anthony Santangelo is on. Mr. Anthony Santangelo, he is amazing. Automax yesterday, I think he mentioned they had their first client who happens to be in the hair salon business. Go figure. So they're hiring, I guess, stylists. I don't know what the deal is. How cool is that? And so we have another visitor, probably from the F&I Today group that I don't know, but hey, how are you? And then we have Becky, and I talked about you last night, see, on my Facebook show. Your business practices of going the extra mile with your personal touches or touch is very, very impressive. Anthony's a sweetheart. He really is. Okay, good evening. Hey, Frederick, thank you again. My subprime master man. Here he is. He's here with us. And way to be more. That's right. And hey, girlfriend, I don't know who that is, but I'm sure somebody that I know. Christine, I don't know, is on. Hey, good to see you guys. I'm so glad that you're here with us talking about this because, it just hits home to me because, we've just been through 2 months.
Right.
I mean, I left Michigan.
Right.
March 5th, no, 16th, in a car, driving home. Oh, I got to say hello. Arens, meet Maria. Maria, meet Adam Arens. He is a doll. He is a great, here again, Mr. Adam Arens owns several, not salons, but he has some nice businesses in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, but he has several dealerships. Relationships require patience and caring.
Absolutely.
Right? That's definitely true. Team RUUT, here to support the best boss ever.
Oh, I love you, Lindsay.
Hey, Lindsay, good to see you. Glad you're here. See, they know how to do this. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is freaking awesome. This is great. So yeah, coming on board and, so.
We have such a strong team. And at the end of the day, that is the ticket. That is the ticket. Everybody's got to care. Everybody's got to value the same things. Everyone has to be valued. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that went into your thinking process too, didn't it?
Yes. And that was one of the things that I wanted to mention, the whole, right? So any decision we make, it has to be good for our whole team. And then any decision that we make has to be good for the whole of the whole circle, the whole community, everything.
Well, Mr. Adam is also saying we are having 20-minute phone conversations with our guests before we even talk cars.
Love it. I love it.
See, and that's everything that you and I are talking about. It's because if we have this approach and engagement before the customer ever steps foot in the dealership, it makes for such a better experience altogether. And I keep harping on this, but it's so true, man. It's like, what is it that you don't get about creating that experience first and bridging that gap? So when the customer's inside this dealership or a salon, we're shortening the time that it takes, right? Mm-hmm. And ultimately creating a better experience anyway. For us, we have customers that come into a dealership, in some cases can spend the entire day. Ever heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
Spend the entire day behind a car?
I've done it.
Yeah. And I'm saying we don't have to do that. Let's take this experience that we've all been through over the past 2 months and do something with it. Mm-hmm. I hate to say, what were you saying? Yet you had it in your post. You mentioned, let's take some of this experience and let's make it matter. Let's make it better.
Mm-hmm. Enhance it. Like we've been kind of pushed against a wall to adapt, and we did it. So if we did it, then what else could we adapt? What else could actually what could be better? What have we been doing the same way this whole time that was not sustainable through this? Let's look at that and see how do we make this more sustainable now that we've learned this stuff. How do we make everything more enhanced and even better? This is a perfect time to do it. We shouldn't stop here,
No, I hope not. I hope that, the dealers are listening up and, people are really thinking through this and realizing, we talk a lot about this digital retailing experience. It's called digital retailing. Walk the customer on this online experience, let them have the ability to shop vehicles online, self-desk, determine payment options online, to be able to determine their credit criteria, that sort of stuff, and give that customer the ability and flexibility to be able to determine those options in advance. And ultimately, it's cutting back on the time the customer spends in the dealership. Jessica.
Love Jessica.
Jessica, you're loved. and that is what I don't know I don't know why we have such a hard time understanding the benefit of doing that.
Awareness that you don't want to shave time off of the customer experience in the store, the physical experience.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, here's what they want to do. Okay, I don't want to spend all day in a dealership with I don't want the customer to have. Why do we have to have a customer in the dealership all day buying a car? Why?
Right.
And a lot of it is because, well, this is how we've always done it, and we've been very successful with this way, Becky. We've made a lot of money, we sold a lot of cars, and you know what? We don't want to give that up. And I'm hearing it, but maybe you are and don't realize it.
Right.
So, right? So it's like more and more customers are saying that, you know what? Maybe I don't have to spend all day. Maybe there is other dealerships or the competitor out there that's more than willing to give me the information I need to obtain financing earlier on, or answer and address some of my questions earlier on, rather give me the feeling as if I'm in control of the buying process. And then doing that, by the time the customer comes into the dealership, we already have the vehicle ready.
Right.
We have a lot of the stuff knocked out already. And we don't have to, hopefully, like you said, start all over again.
Right.
And Richie says hi. Hey, Richie. Good to see you. So Richie Bello is here. Good to see you, Mr. Richie Bello. I'm glad you could be here. And then we have another Facebook user. Hello, all. Not exactly sure who hello, all is, but anyway, I'm sure I'll find out once I get back on here. But so that in of itself, that's the tricky part. That's the tricky part, trying to convince, or why can't we shorten the time? Why can't we have that engagement earlier on before the customer gets into a dealership? Why can't we give them keys? Why can't we let up on the reins? Why can't we have give the customer the ability to kind of self-desk through some of this? And why can't we do that? And then also, not only that, but contact the customer, engage with the customer, have conversation with the customer, answer customer specific questions, have that consultative approach, as Adam pointed out, 20-minute conversation, or you're pointing out, when's the last time a dealer has actually taken the time to call the customer themselves, or their general manager, and imagine the impact that they would have by doing that?
Absolutely.
People who think that their inefficient processes don't need improvement should be loved and ignored. He loves everyone. I'll tell you what I'll do when Adam comes into town, and he does once in a while. When this whole thing calms down, right, and he can travel. He loves that he travels everywhere. He's just like freaking amazing. We'll make it a point. I'll make sure Adam. We'll get Adam over to your shop. I mean, he's a riot. He's an absolute riot. But that's kind of where we're at. So it's like you got to step outside your comfort zone to put this whole thing together. So I know you did that. The other thing I want to stress on this one, and then I'll let these blowouts. What you call it, blowout?
Yeah. Yes. Blow dry. Yes.
Blow dries. So it's like, no, we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you took away something that was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I can't wait for this masterpiece to come together.
Right. Well, so for people who are not really familiar with the salon industry, I'll break it down a little bit. So the blowout, or the blow dry, takes up a pretty large portion of the service. In a time like a COVID-19 pandemic, it is circulating excess germs throughout the entire space. So at a time where we're still supposed to be maintaining this 6-foot social distance, which stylists can't do, if we also have the projection of airflow all over the place, that kind of defeats the purpose. So we removed that, and a lot of other salons have done that as well. And we really didn't, I think, realize how much that is incredibly valued. I mean, we knew that part of the service was really, really valued by guests, but I don't think we really had any idea how people really look forward to that part of the service. But throughout complying with these guidelines, we have had to strip a lot of our luxury out of our experience. and that being one of them. But we serve very, very nice beverages at our salon.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of details that go into the overall experience that make that point of difference really shine. And when you're stripping all that away, what are you going to fill it with? You know, what are you going to bring back? And how are you still going to make that experience go full circle? And what's been really interesting to me is the way we are seeing people leave is the same level of content and happy that we were before, but yet we can't give them these extra physical details to the experience. And it really, I kind of stepped back within our third week of operating and thought, why is this still happening? Why I can't hand them a mirror and they can't see the end result all blow dried and polished and perfect. They're wet, they're soaking wet, and they're leaving this way. And why are they the same level of appreciative? And why do they still feel so taken care of? And they can't even see the results, you know? And that to me started with that first phone call. It started with going the extra mile when we stripped everything that is our luxury brand away to be able to comply with guidelines. You have to think innovatively. You have to think, okay, well, if we can't give them this, what can we give them? We can give them really incredible communication. We can give them really incredible one-on-one care and individualized attention.
I hope everybody is listening to this, because this is it. This is the secret sauce.
It really is. And you know, at the end of the day, you're going to create your loyalty by giving these people an emotional experience.
Mm-hmm.
Caring if they have one, you know, and it can be done.
And that's what I absolutely agree with. I'm so 100% bought into that. And this is something that I've been preaching. I have been preaching this, and it's like, I don't know what's so hard for everyone again to really understand and embrace. But imagine here you are, creating that, starting with that engagement earlier on, and not just, you know, here's the other thing. You know, we have this BDC, Business Development Centers, right? And the whole idea, be it for me, guys, I know, don't get upset with me because I'm telling the secrets, but it's true. And it's all about get the appointment, get them in the dealership, come hell or high water. Don't talk about anything. Don't talk specifics. Just get them in the dealership. That's all we care. And we'll sell them a car once they get here. So we're actually really talking about the opposite.
Yes.
Aren't we? Because we're not saying, even in the salon industry, right? Let's get them in. We'll do the consultation once we get in.
Figure it out later. Just get them in.
Get them in here. What are you talking about, Becky? You know, get them in the dealership or get them in the salon, and we'll deal with it, because once we're face to face, we'll sell them.
Right.
So don't do that. And especially whatever you do, never talk specifics about F&I until the customer makes their way into the F&I office. I mean, for Christ, never do that. But see, again, customers want more information. It's been proven time and time again. The more upfront, the more transparent we are, the more that the more credible we become, and the more that they really appreciate the total buying experience. And because of that, has really made a major impact in our overall sales and profits, right? But it's a matter of changing your paradigm. It's a paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. And it is a radical way of thinking that, oh my gosh, we're doing the opposite almost, in a way. Mm-hmm. We're doing the opposite of anything that we've ever been trained to do. We are engaging earlier. We're talking through this. We're giving customers answers and specific information, and we're living up to what we say that we're going to do, right?
Yes.
That in it itself is just, for us, get them in. Let's go ahead and sell them once they get into the dealership. So, right?
Yes.
Frozen. Thinking, oh my God, don't be frozen.
But yes, well, and I think also considering, there's the whole world is shifting, there are so many things that we can do in the privacy and the comfort of our home that if you continue to push people outside of what's becoming more comfortable, they're going to start to resist. That's something to consider. There's also, different personality types that are still shoppers that you kind of have to consider. There are some people who prefer to shop more introvertedly. They prefer their research to be kind of silent and private, and they want to go through these things and process what's important to them, on their own without someone standing there staring at them, waiting for some kind of answer. That can be very uncomfortable for a lot of people. And how we've structured our business, we've thought about that. When and how we develop this information and how we deliver it to them is really important. And we try to mirror what they want. That's something I think that you can bring into your industry and share. Mirroring people. If someone is dying to get in the door, get them in the door. If someone is hesitant and kind of wants to sit at home and wants a little bit more information before they decide, mirror that person, adapt to those people, and let them have a little bit of control, and then they're comfortable with you.
Well, one of the things that I promised that I was going to bring up, and I'm bringing up now that I thought was very cool, really very neat, and you did, I'm going to give away my secret, but you did curbside, and that's unusual, right? For the hair salon business. I don't know if that's something that's done all the time, but for me, it was really interesting. Talk to us about that, because all I know was we had the product you developed for every one of your clients, and it was specialized, customized for your clients. But also you had this phenomenal video, how to apply it. So it was great. Step 1, step 2. This is what you do. So I didn't totally mess up too much, but not something that you couldn't fix about 3 hours later. But here's the thing. No, I didn't really do that. But it was great. And is that something that's really happening in the salon business? What's up with that? I think that's pretty cool.
Well, it was a tough decision because it's not. We have different contracts. So what I really did was I did my research, and I had a few conversations and asked if some blind eyes were going to be turned while we did that, to be honest. And I called a rep of ours and I said, I know we're not supposed to be doing this, but the government is adapting. Everyone is adapting. So are you going to adapt? Are you going to give us your blessing as we move forward with this? And she said yes. So we chose. We couldn't offer that to everyone. We chose a very select amount of people to be able to offer this exclusive situation with. To hopefully try to bring a little bit of happiness and still keep people comfortable and retain them. Retention is really, really important.
Oh, your finger core people, retention, how important is that?
Impulsively going out and screwing up their hair color, and then we have a massive situation to figure out rescheduling more than we already did.
Right.
So yes, it was an interesting decision, but it worked out really, really well. And one of the things that was incredible was we got really awesome feedback from everyone, and they were so grateful. And I thought, oh my gosh, we didn't even give them an experience in the salon. We didn't even get to touch them. And they feel so taken care of. And they feel this customer service intention that was just, I didn't expect that. It was really incredible.
Well, some of the things that we have to do in our business to be a lot more innovative, and that is, some of the banks have to lighten up on these signatures and that sort of stuff, and how they are allowing for more e-signature documents to be signed, and also their finance contracts. And before it was like, no way, this is not how we operate. Well, guess what? If you don't want a finance contract, you better maybe want to rethink that decision. So it's like we're all kind of living through like, hey, maybe, you know, this is the way that we said we're going to do business, but you know what? Maybe that's just not really the best way of doing that. I think it's really important too that why couldn't you? We talked through that, offer customers other product options and do that online. And we also have issues. I have a lot of issues, but I know I'm going to get shot. Hopefully not, but I won't be able to afford you again. No, but here's the thing. We don't, you know, we have issues about putting our products online. And I think, you know, why don't we have a video or two about explaining some of the product offerings that we have available for our customers? I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. And I like the idea that you may have, I don't know, conditioning process. You may have something else, a toner process. And these are things that were shampoo that's out, that's just really kind of cool. And, you know, just doing videos like that, to me, that would encourage people to go, hey, maybe I need that treatment, or, you know, or shoot, maybe I can do it myself. I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts with that?
Yes, no, I think that is very true. And I think we're all, as consumers, kind of moving towards finding solutions online and watching how it works for other people and watching how the processes work. So yes, I think that definitely makes sense.
I mean, tying people back in. I mean, think of YouTube. I mean, think of all the tools and tech that you have available, technology today that can tie people back into your salon and go, this is, you know, some of the mistakes that I see happening. You know, whatever you do, don't do this. This is what I had to do to go ahead and clean this mess up. But I think some of us, you know, could do that. I think we could put our products, maybe some of our products online, and kind of go over that with the customer. And, or I think too that we can do a better job maybe emailing to our customers videos and that sort of stuff about our vehicles, about what takes place even in the F&I department, that sort of stuff. And it's not such a, you know, dark and lonely hallway, you know, that, or, you know, that you'll likely enjoy the experience. I'm here to answer and address any questions that you may have and keep it open-minded in that regard.
Definitely. Well, and finding out how to provide solutions for them before they're even in the door, I think is really important. You know, if you basically, you're welcoming them into your space to create an experience for them, but you don't know what they're expecting or what they want yet.
Yeah.
You can tailor to them by finding out, doing that consultative research beforehand.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you this: what do you see things going? Are you still the only? I mean, are there still only 2 salons open now? Do you have? How many salons are now open in the United States? In the states.
States, right.
How many states? Yeah, how many salons? States.
Georgia was the first. So we were the first and only to begin with, which was definitely a lot of pressure.
Definitely.
At the beginning, I felt like we were the test subjects. And then I thought, no, we're building. We are the builders. We're building these standards. We're building these guidelines and these processes. And I would rather be on this end, innovatively building, than waiting my turn, you know? Mm-hmm. My script kind of flipped there for a moment, but then Texas was second. And as of this moment, I'm out of touch with who else is, but within our first and second week open, it was just Georgia and Texas.
So I'm going to go a little political on you.
Okay.
It is F&I on the edge. So now I'm going to go a little political. I thought it was really quite interesting because you said to me back, you know, I am in the hair salon business, and I never thought in a million years that I would be in a business that has anything to do with politics.
Yeah.
And I happen to agree with you on that one because you're so freaking cool. And just like, you know, you go any which way. It's like, you know what I mean? You're very open-minded. And I just love that about you. But you know what? Here's the thing. I don't know how to, you know, and I found it interesting too, because, you're a shop owner, you have your responsibilities.
Yeah.
And right? And regulations that you don't have a choice. This is how you got to do business. Or if you decide that you're not going to do business a certain way, then that means you might have to shut down. That could also mean that you're going to get fined, and you could possibly, maybe, I don't know anything about these health regulations, but you could possibly lose your license.
Correct.
Is that a possibility? Yeah. That you decide, well, shit, I'm not going to have a mask. I'm not going to put a mask on. I'm not going to put any kind of protection on. And let's just do this thing. Let's just have some fun.
Right.
Come on in here. We're doing hair today. And you were very serious minded about it. You were so, on top of it. And you've had people, actually, customers, clients coming in and complaining that, wait a minute, I'm not about to wear this skirt. No way. And I'm not doing this. And you know what? You shouldn't do this either. And you're like,
yeah,
right?
Right.
All right. So what happened there?
Yes. So, there's definitely different levels of, radical, if someone is radical with their beliefs or if they're not. For us, the position of choosing safety and following guidelines and developing guidelines that oversee the good for all, we thought was neutral. We thought that was neutral territory. That just responsible parties in this, and suddenly there was kind of this shift happening with the general public, very much on Facebook, and all of this radical belief that no one should be wearing masks, and that there is a concern of suppressing immune systems, which I understand that concern, and that there is a concern of being told to wear a mask and some rights being revoked there, and so we were, for the most part, able to explain why this was important for this hour or this 2-hour service. And we were able to reach some compromise, and we do still require the mask. However, there was one situation where someone really was pushing us strongly to not follow the guidelines and actually expecting us to make a stance, like against the government, to not follow their guidelines. And we're a business. I can't use my business to pawn that position. I can't do that. And so the expectations there were very interesting.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know. I don't get people coming into another business and telling another business operator how to run their business and saying, oh, by the way, I'm not wearing my mask and you don't wear your mask. And I'm thinking, you don't have to get your hair. You don't want to lose a client.
No.
Nobody wants to lose a client. Retention is so important.
You can't jeopardize everything to make 1% or 5% of people happy.
Right.
And not for the greater good of the whole big picture, then we're not doing it.
So you wonder, these dealers, right? And in these tough states, there's some tough states out there. They're locked down. They're locked down in New Jersey and New York. We're going through hell. And maybe in some other places, Michigan and that sort of stuff. So when they open up and, what are they supposed to be doing with these people that decide, I don't need a mask? Dude, I'm okay. I'm going to go buy a car.
There are still, just like any other regulations and guidelines, there's a reason why these, for us, like State Board, they have jobs, which are to come in and inspect. They're right. Because people don't always follow rules. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There are still places who aren't implementing guidelines the way that they're supposed to. Yeah. And so, if we are, and so if someone sees something else happening at another salon or another business, they think that they can hold us to those standards, when really it should be the other way around. Those people should be held to our standards.
No, it should be. And I just felt that was a really interesting that you stayed your ground and you said, here's the situation.
Yes.
This is what we made a decision. I'm sticking to my guns. Sorry you don't like it, but it is what it is. And I'm sorry that your friends on Facebook or wherever that you're going, it has this radical, this approach that says, hey, I'm American. If I want to not wear my mask, I'm not going to wear my mask, which is great. And you are, but you're not going to do it here. And you're not going to dictate your policies to me.
The point is we're really supportive of how anyone wants to navigate this on their own, absolutely. And, there's a lot of different information going around to support everyone's beliefs. And so it's very easy to be validated. But at the end of the day, when there are guidelines and we're talking about living at a time in a pandemic where the biggest form of transmission is human contact, this is not about if it's sitting on surfaces. This is if I am touching you for an hour or more, and no one right now can argue with that. And so at a time where someone is physically touching you for an hour or more, when you're in a business, the mask needs to be on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that whole thing. I feel like even if, and I use this analogy and I'm like, dude, if you want to go ahead and you want to run out, and maybe this is kind of mean, and I don't mean it to be mean, but this is how it is. If you want to run out in front of traffic and go get hit by a car, I guess that's what you got to do. But I don't want to be driving the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to be the one driving the car because that's not my deal. So, and that's what this is all about. And I think that dealers need to also remember when they're opening up their stores, they've got to be conscientious of keeping things safe.
Yeah.
And they just have to decide, hey, this is how we're going to do business. This is it. Mm-hmm. I've got to protect my employees, right? Mm-hmm. And so by protecting my employees, that means you're wearing a mask. Yeah. I'm sorry, and I'm sure that's going to be a hard pill to swallow for some of these guys, because I can guarantee you it is tough to say to a customer, hey, if you don't take your mask off, I'm not buying a car from you. And you're like, okay, so do we have these customers intimidate us to do business the way that they want business done in order to sell our product? So
it's really about believing in what you're doing, so for us, the main focus was being able to move forward. I don't want to see my business be shut down again,
Right. Amen.
Yeah. The entire community move forward is laying on our responsibility, on our shoulders of how we conduct business. Mm-hmm. I won't be contributing to it going the wrong way,
No, that's right.
Doing that. And so that's really, to me, the decision is not difficult there.
So we see if we've got some more comments. Good ideas. Thank you very much, Derek. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it, Derek. And then we have another, having videos of programs offered throughout the dealership on their website creates more transparency and helps customers feel more at ease and knowledgeable in the buying process. It does. And so imagine the impact on that whole thing. So that's like when you did that, I'm thinking, gosh, if I could share these videos with some of these dealers so that they have a better understanding of how this whole thing works, it's just really cool. I think that they are some really good ideas, not only with dealerships, but obviously with other retail businesses too. So I went ahead here and I invited hopefully other entrepreneurs, business owners, and hopefully we were able, maybe there's some things that you have to kind of think through different than what you did before to help you be successful, that you got to switch over, you got to pivot over to doing things different than you thought you'd ever do in the past. And that is going to take you in a more positive direction, and look at it as a positive thing as opposed to a negative thing, right?
Right. Yes. I think initially, as we were all forced to adapt and be pushed outside of our comfort zone in multiple areas of our life, it was kind of fascinating to stand back and think, we just all did that. That was kind of neat, And then really forward thinking, it's perturbation, we're going through this intense pressure right now, and we're going to come out better than this. If the focus is to try to regain what we had before, well, what we had before kind of put us in this holding pattern. So I don't know that that's necessarily the answer. So if we adapt from here and not, we talked about the other day, recreating the wheel. We don't want to recreate the wheel, but if we can go through the wheel and see what little areas can be enhanced to where we are all running our businesses more sustainably, why not do that? Why not take this time to do that? We've learned a lot.
So one thing too that we failed to talk about, that we're going to talk about now, is the fact that by putting some of these other processes in, changing up the way that you did your business, interesting enough, you were able to cut expenses, and you helped to streamline some of this and really made for a more of impact again on the overall experience. And
cutting expenses, I missed something.
Well, my understanding is there were certain things that you put in place, and I forget exactly what those things were, where it helped you to maybe cut down on some of the unnecessary expenses, maybe some of the fluff, if you will, and which still helped to impact the ultimate customer experience. One of the things that we're going through here is, in our business, how do we cut the fluff out of it? How do we cut out unnecessary expenses that we can streamline this process? Like, for an example, there's so many dynamics that occur when we sell a car. Whereas if we get through a lot of it online, there's not much more left, by the time the customer comes in, other than reviewing, product review of the vehicle, test drive, that sort of thing, walk around, that sort of stuff. The rest is pretty much done. Yes. So we could almost, I hate to say it, eliminate some unnecessary or fluff.
Well, or you're not eliminating it, you're doing it a little differently.
That's right. Yeah.
That's really important, but you don't have to deliver it the same way. There are certain areas of the experience that have to be done in the physical form. That goes for my business, that goes for your business. You still need to test drive. You still need to have that interaction physically in the dealership. We still have to have that to make our revenue as well.
Yeah.
What areas of the experience and what we call the service wheel, from that first point of contact to the last, what areas of that experience could be more virtual? What areas of that experience could be done before the guest is even there and after they're gone?
That's right.
They're still honored. Those things are still honored. They don't have to be executed the same way.
That's it right there. I love the wheel. I love that wheel idea. I'm going to take it from you. You're going to see it in my books. I think I told Becky about the wheel. But no, it is. And this is what, we're talking about. When is the time, how much information, when do we connect, with that customer online? And, what does that all look like? I mean, how much of that do we do before the customer makes their way right into the dealership and that sort of stuff? And why can't we cut the time down, in half?
Yes.
Why can't we?
Yes. Well, and then there's not all this idle time in between waiting through transitions,
Right.
From the consumer side of buying a car, I can tell you that the interaction is fun, but then when there's these idle waiting times in between points of the experience, that's not fun. And it gives somebody time to sit there and think about leaving.
Yeah. What are you all doing? I mean, I thought we had this all figured out beforehand. Oh, we're just going to start all over again. That sort of stuff. So, we want to get through that. But, again, I got to tell you, I can't thank you enough for making your way here, of all things, on Ev and I on the Edge, right? And really talking about some stuff that's on the edge for a lot of our dealers. And hopefully they really kind of see this and go, you know what? maybe we should go ahead and connect the dots, bridge that gap sooner. Maybe we need to do a better job at engaging, and F&I people need to get out from under themselves and out of that office. And I know it's like this. I don't want to do that. This is the way that we've done it. We've done it like this for years, Becky. This is how we continue to do it. And I'm like, quit doing it like that. Meet customers earlier on.
Our industry is the same way. It's been done the same way for a very long time, and it hasn't changed. And it's proved well, right? It's proved,
yeah, it has. That's right.
But it doesn't mean it couldn't be better. Mm-hmm. And at the end, you know, what I had said earlier is mirroring people. Look, you do the research for a moment and look at what your customers are wanting. If they are wanting that engagement prior to coming in physically, if they are searching and seeking that engagement with you online, be there. Be that.
I think sometimes, here's the thing, we want to hold out that F&I person, or, you know, that's the last touch point to finalizing the transaction. And I'm saying, let's take that away and actually make it the first touch, or the second touch, or the first touch point. Why not? You know, let's get it over with. You know, the more, you know, let's define some of this information. Let the customer feel comfortable about, you know, buying the vehicle. Answer some questions, for crying out loud, and I just think it just makes all the sense in the world. And so when you and I had that conversation, I'm like, I am so there. You've got to come on. You've got to get on this. You got to be here with me. Let's talk about this, because it's just, we're talking about the same thing. We're bridging the gap. That's it. And create a much better experience. And we can do that. And so, and I know you're doing it. So again, I want to thank you, Maria, for being here. And
thank you so much, Becky.
This is your first live, right? Facebook Live?
Yes, I have Facebook Lived once from a Fashion Week show in New York, but nothing like this.
Oh my, good. We'll get you addicted. We'll get you back on here.
And I however I can contribute to forward innovation and just thinking outside of the box, I'm super passionate about it. And I hope that I was able to help offer anything to anyone listening.
Well, you're super duper. I really appreciate you. Thank you again. And thank you everyone for being here with us. I really appreciate your comments, and hopefully some of the stuff is sticking with y'all. So thank you again. So we're going to go ahead and end it tonight.